It was supposed to be a light-hearted late-night chat. Just another Hollywood guest on Jimmy Fallon's couch, promoting a movie and cracking a few jokes. But what happened next left the audience stunned and the entire industry reeling. Matt Damon didn't just speak his mind. He unloaded years of frustration, and what he said on that stage was something no one expected. Like and subscribe to see the full story unfold. The night started as any other on Jimmy Fallon's famous couch. Cameras rolled, the audience buzzed with excitement, and the atmosphere was set for another typical celebrity appearance. Matt Damon, known for his charm and wit, walked out with his usual easy smile, greeting the crowd with warmth. But as the interview progressed, something shifted in the air, a tension that wasn't there before. Damon's usual smooth answers began to harden into sharp truths. What could have sparked this sudden change? Was it exhaustion with the system, years of bottled-up frustrations, or something deeper brewing beneath Hollywood's glittering surface? The conversation took a sharp turn when Fallon asked about Damon's latest film. Instead of the expected, promotional spiel, Damon launched into an unfiltered critique of the entire movie industry. He spoke with raw intensity about the toxicity behind the scenes, the greed that undermines creativity, and the way studios prioritize profits over art. Was this just one actor's rant, or was he exposing a rot that everyone in the industry knew but dared not say aloud? Damon questioned the very foundations of the entertainment world. Why do so many films play it safe, following formulas designed to guarantee box office success rather than daring to tell bold stories? Why are fresh voices consistently sidelined in favor of recycled ideas and star power? Could the industry's obsession with social media trends and franchises be destroying the magic of storytelling? His words forced the audience to wonder, are we witnessing the unraveling of Hollywood's facade? As Damon spoke, the energy in the room grew electric. The audience was torn between disbelief and nods of silent agreement. Jimmy Fallon, typically quick with a joke, found himself disarmed, caught between his role as host and the shocking gravity of Damon's revelations. What would happen next? Could Damon backtrack, or was this the moment he decided to speak without filter, no matter the consequences? The questions lingered, hanging in the charged silence that followed. What price would Damon pay for this Publix? Rebellion? And more importantly, was Hollywood ready to confront the truths he laid bare? The stage was set for a confrontation that could change everything. As the stunned silence lingered, Matt Damon didn't pause or soften his tone. Instead, he doubled down, eyes locked on the audience as if daring anyone to challenge him. He began peeling back more layers of the industry's facade. The casting, decisions dictated by profit margins rather than talent, the relentless pressure on actors and filmmakers to conform, and the insidious culture of silence that protected powerful figures while punishing dissenters. He spoke candidly about the emotional toll this took on those involved. How many artists had their visions crushed or voices muted because they refused to fit the mold? How many rising stars had been chewed up and spat out for daring to challenge the status quo? Damon's words painted a bleak picture of a machine that valued image over integrity, commerce over creativity. Was this the truth behind the blockbuster glitz? The dark underside Hollywood tried desperately to hide? The interview took a confrontational turn when Damon directly named some of the industry's biggest players. Without naming names explicitly, his pointed references to certain executives and studios made it clear he was calling out systemic corruption. This wasn't just a personal grievance, it was a call to action. How long had these practices gone, unchecked? How many scandals had been swept under the rug in exchange for contracts and box office hits? Jimmy Fallon, visibly uncomfortable, tried to steer the conversation back to lighter topics, but Damon refused to relent. The tension in the room was palpable, the audience on the edge of their seats. This was no longer entertainment. It was a reckoning. For a moment, the cameras captured the stark contrast between Fallon's polished, rehearsed persona and Damon's raw, unfiltered truth-telling. Could Fallon maintain control, or was this interview slipping beyond anyone's expectations? As the segment neared its halfway point, it was clear this was more than a simple chat. It was a challenge thrown down in the spotlight, a demand for the industry to reflect and reform. Would Hollywood listen, or would they try to silence Damon? Like so many others before him, the air in the studio had grown thick with tension. Every word Matt Damon spoke carrying weight far beyond the usual talk show banter. Now, fully immersed in his tirade, Damon moved from exposing systemic corruption to revealing the personal cost of Hollywood's ruthless machinery. He spoke of friendships broken by power struggles, of careers sidelined by political games, and of the constant fear that hung over anyone daring enough to speak their truth. He described the culture of fear and conformity that had settled like a shadow over the industry, a force that compelled many to remain silent in exchange for safety and success. How many actors, writers, and directors had sacrificed their artistic integrity just to keep their place at the table? How often had the creative process been compromised by executives who saw art as a mere commodity to be shaped and sold? Damon's voice cracked with emotion as he revealed that even he, a respected star, had felt the weight of these unspoken rules. This was no longer a rant, it was a confession. He admitted moments when he had held back, when he had stayed quiet despite knowing better, all because the stakes were too high. The system was designed to chew up and spit out anyone who stepped out of line. And yet, here he was, breaking those rules live on national television. Was this the turning point the industry desperately needed? Or was he simply a frustrated insider airing grievances that would soon be forgotten? The audience sat captivated, some faces showing shock, others nodding in grim recognition. Jimmy Fallon's attempts to inject humor only highlighted the gravity of Damon's revelations. The contrast was stark. Fallon, the polished entertainer, trying to maintain the show's light tone, and Damon, the whistleblower, challenging the very foundation of that entertainment world. Damon's critique didn't stop at individuals or practices. He expanded his scope to the cultural impact of the industry's choices. He questioned whether Hollywood was serving the audience or manipulating it. Was the endless churn of sequels, remakes, and superhero flicks truly what people wanted? Or had the industry decided what the public should consume? How often were films reduced to marketing vehicles, their creative potential sacrificed for merchandise and brand deals? He urged viewers to think critically about the media they consumed. What was the cost of this commodification on storytelling, on diversity, and on representation? Could the industry reclaim its original purpose? To inspire, to challenge, to reflect the human experience? Or had it lost its way irreparably in the pursuit of profits? As the interview moved toward its climax, Damon's tone sharpened into a direct challenge. He demanded accountability, not just from the executives and producers, but from everyone involved: actors, directors, writers, and even audiences. Change required courage, and he called on his peers to join him in refusing to play by the old rules. Was it possible to rebuild Hollywood from the inside out, or was it doomed to repeat the same cycles of exploitation? The moment hung heavy in the air, every viewer left to wrestle with the uncomfortable questions Damon raised. The interview was no longer just a segment on a late-night show. It was a seismic shift, a moment of reckoning for an industry built on dreams, but shadowed by harsh realities. Could the truth spoken so boldly tonight spark the change so desperately needed? The momentum from Damon's powerful declarations carried into the next phase of the interview, where the atmosphere shifted from revelation to confrontation. The silence that had gripped the studio was broken by a palpable sense of urgency, as if everyone present sensed that a turning point had been reached. Matt Damon was no longer merely venting frustrations, he was rallying a movement, one that threatened to disrupt the very foundations of Hollywood's elite. Damon took aim at the industry's gatekeepers, those executives and studio heads who, in pursuit of profit and control, had become disconnected from the art of filmmaking. He painted them as the architects of a hollow system, one that prioritized marketability over meaningful storytelling, hype over substance. He accused them of fostering an environment where risk was shunned and creativity stifled, leaving audiences with a never-ending carousel of safe, predictable films. But Damon's attack was not limited to the powers that be. He also challenged his fellow actors and creators, pointing out complicity within the ranks. How many times had artists remained silent, trading their principles for prestige and paycheck? How often had the pursuit of fame blinded talented individuals to the harm perpetuated by the system they thrived in? Damon's words cut deep, exposing uncomfortable truths about ambition, loyalty, and moral compromise. The tension escalated when Damon confronted Jimmy Fallon directly, breaking through the usual host-guest dynamic. He questioned Fallon's role in perpetuating Hollywood's polished illusions, challenging whether late-night shows were complicit in sanitizing the industry's darker realities. Could a show built on celebrity promotion ever truly hold those stars accountable? Was Fallon prepared to face the uncomfortable truths Damon was laying bare, or would he retreat behind the show's trademark humor? For a moment, the interview threatened to spiral out of control, as Fallon's practiced charm wavered under Damon's relentless candor. The studio audience held its breath, sensing a clash not just of personalities, but of ideals. Damon's fearless confrontation exposed the tension between entertainment as spectacle and entertainment as a platform for truth. Yet amid the confrontation, there was also a call for unity. Damon spoke passionately about the power of collective action, urging those within the industry to reclaim the narrative and rebuild from within. He envisioned a Hollywood where creative voices were nurtured, where diversity and originality were celebrated rather than suppressed. Could this vision inspire real change, or was it an idealistic dream in an industry so deeply entrenched? As the interview neared its end, Damon's tone shifted from critique to hope. Despite the shadows he exposed, he reminded viewers that the magic of cinema still existed, buried beneath layers of corporate interests but alive in the stories that moved hearts and challenged minds. The question remained: would the industry heed his call and rise to the challenge, or continue down a path of complacency and decline? The cameras lingered on Damon's determined expression as he delivered his final message. The silence that followed was deafening, punctuated only by the faint rustle of the audience and the distant hum of the city outside the studio. This was more than an interview. It was a battle cry, a moment of reckoning broadcast to millions. As the segment wrapped, viewers were left to grapple with the magnitude of what they had witnessed. Could one man's courage spark a revolution in Hollywood? Was this the beginning of the end for an industry in crisis, or the dawn of a new era of honesty and creativity? The closing moments of the interview were electric. Matt Damon, having laid bare the wounds of Hollywood, now shifted from exposing the problems to envisioning the solution. The room that had been heavy with tension now hummed with a cautious optimism, an undercurrent of possibility threading through Damon's closing words. He wasn't just condemning the system, he was offering a path forward, one that called on everyone, artists, executives, audiences alike, to demand better. He reminded viewers of the power storytelling holds to change hearts and minds, to foster empathy, and to shine a light on truths that might otherwise remain hidden. Damon spoke passionately about his belief in the resilience of creativity and the indomitable spirit of artists who refuse to be silenced. Could this moment of brutal honesty serve as a catalyst for a cultural shift within Hollywood? Could it awaken an industry long complacent in its own image? The triumphant arc of Damon's speech struck a chord. He acknowledged the risks he took by speaking so openly on such a public platform, risking friendships, careers, and his standing in an industry built on image. Yet he stood firm, driven by a conviction that silence was no longer an option. Was this the courage others would find within themselves to follow? Could one voice inspire a chorus demanding transformation? Jimmy Fallon, after the initial shock, found his footing and offered a measured response that balanced respect for Damon's candor with the complexities of the industry. Their exchange revealed a nuanced reality, one where change was desperately needed but difficult to achieve. Fallon admitted the challenges in balancing entertainment and accountability, acknowledging the tension Damon had so boldly spotlighted. This rare moment of vulnerability from Fallon deepened the interview's impact, showing that even those within the system recognized its flaws. As the cameras began to pull back, the mood had shifted from confrontation to contemplation. The audience sat in reflective silence, many visibly moved by Damon's impassioned plea. Social media erupted almost immediately, with clips of the interview going viral, sparking heated debates and widespread calls for reform. Industry insiders expressed surprise and admiration for Damon's bravery, while critics questioned whether his words would lead to lasting change or be dismissed as a celebrity's momentary outburst. Yet, beneath the noise, something undeniable had happened. A conversation had been started, one that could no longer be ignored. Damon's challenge echoed far beyond the studio walls, reverberating through Hollywood and into the homes of millions around the world. Could this be the beginning of a reckoning? A time when creativity, integrity, and courage once again became the driving forces of the movie industry? As the screen faded to black, viewers were left with one final thought. Change is never easy, but it is always possible. And sometimes it takes the voice of one bold individual speaking truth to power to ignite a movement that transforms an entire industry.